morning. We have an awesome guest, Dr. Alex Peralta. He is my mentor, the first doctor I worked with when I started in hospice many, many years ago. And I have to share a story. I just love Dr. Peralta so much. We've got Jeanna Weaver here too with my Centric Hospice and Home Health. And when I was a brand new hospice nurse, when I was in nursing school, every one of my instructors said, "Joe, you would be a great hospice nurse." So I graduated. I didn't have time or money to apply for any internships. I was just trying to get through school. Had 2 little kids, and but anyway, I opened the phone book one day and looked up hospices in the yellow pages, and in bold letters is family hospice. So I just got in the car, drove over to Family Hospice, and you happened to be in the lobby that day. And that's where it started. But what I love about Dr. Peralta, you are so knowledgeable about hospice, palliative care, understanding the coordination of care. You are a former pharmacist and just taught me so much and just helped me in my career, and I will always be grateful to you. So thank you so much. So we're just so excited to have Dr. Peralta here. We're talking today about hospice and palliative care from a medical director's perspective. And there is a lot going on right now. And so thank you for coming. And Jeanna?
Yeah, I will just say Dr. Peralta is our medical director for Centric Hospice. I love it because he's so hands-on. That's what he sees our families face-to-face, most of them, and that is a game changer for a family, getting to see the doctor face-to-face in their home, and he can assess. So that has been a change for me from other companies, and I love that. And he's been doing palliative hospice since 1985. So I was 6 years old.
Just the other day.
Yeah, just the other day. And has a wife and 3 beautiful children. And how many grandkids?
3 grandchildren.
3 grandchildren. So anyway, he's just a great knowledge. He's just so wonderful to sit down and talk with. So that's why we're excited to have him on today.
Oh, we are. This is so wonderful. So let me just tell you this. With COVID, and I do private duty. I'm with Caring People, great company. But we get so many patients that are on hospice, and we support and work with the hospice. But I get calls, I'm at that age, I'm that adult child. My friends are all having to make decisions on care for their parents. So I got a call actually last night. A dear friend of mine, her father was having heart surgery. Mother, though, they think had a stroke. She has dementia. Her left side, she can't move her left side. They didn't want to take her to the ER. They're terrified of COVID. So their internist comes out and basically said, there's really nothing you can do but a feeding tube, or you can just keep her comfortable. Mm-hmm. No mention on palliative care, no mention on hospice. And so she called me, and I gave her the questions to ask the doctor.
Good.
So and so the family's asking the doctor the questions today. But so many people right now, they don't want to go to the hospital. They are leaning on that physician to give them direction. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about just hospice from your perspective, okay, and things that are going on right now in our COVID world that we're in.
Sure. Well, first of all, Joe, it's good to visit with you again. It's been years. Joe is a very, very intelligent nurse, and she went on to do some much great things, started a great company.
Thank you.
And has been a very successful, not only a good nurse, but also a good businesswoman.
Thank you.
And one of those type of companies that creates personalized, customized services. So I congratulate you on your wonderful career and the great company that you put together.
Thank you.
Right. And Ms. Weaver here is my right hand. She tells me, go here, do this, do that, let's do this. And so I follow her along from the marketing perspective. To answer your question, this is a very, very tumultuous time right now in medicine, because some people just are kind of on the edge and not sure, well, what is this COVID virus all about? What is it, and what kind of virus damage what kind of damage can this virus does? And I know it firsthand because it hit our family. And it is a devastating virus. It's a very virulent virus. It causes multi-system disease. So it's not just the lungs. It could be all systems. It could be the liver, the lungs, the heart, and also the mind. And of course, for those of you who've had COVID, know that it affects your taste and your smell. And that's something you stay permanent with for a long period of time. The COVID also has changed the whole landscape of healthcare. Okay, and I just want to mention one thing that was kind of interesting to me, because in my career of taking care of patients, acutely ill patients, both in ICU and CCU, then in hospice and in palliative care, you got to see people firsthand in a very acute illness, and you weren't quite sure whether they're going to live or die, very much like this family. And so you had to make some very hard decisions. In COVID, we've educated many healthcare professionals in the acute world how to really provide the loving kindness. I call it hospice is intensive human caring.
It
And,
is.
and when you get to that point of intensive human caring, you focus on symptom management, you focus on palliative care and hospice modalities to make the patient as comfortable as we can, but also to improve the quality of life. Many times, and especially now in COVID, guys have got COVID and she's sick and she's going to die within 2 or 3 days, but that gives you an opportunity to provide symptom management and to do the best thing you can so that patient and family can have the appropriate type of care that they need for end-of-life care. With COVID, things changed because in hospitals, you're not allowed to see your loved one, so you can't visit them. In nursing homes, you're not allowed to see them. In assisted living, you're not allowed to see them. You actually can wave to them through a window. But in home care and hospice and palliative care, when they're home, the staff can't come see them. So that's a big difference. And not that we replace people that are hospitalized providing acute care and ventilator care, but the fact that the patient and family are there together in this very important trajectory of their life, okay? And to me, this is when somebody needs hospice care, whether it's for COVID or cancer or Alzheimer's, it's making sure that that's the right care at the right time and the right point in the disease trajectory. And it's not about losing hope. There's nothing else we can do. It's actually about trying to embellish whatever time the person has and improve their quality of life. So this becomes actually the time that we can really do some very important things in our life. COVID has changed things a lot because of the fact that everybody now that comes to see you comes all dressed up. Okay, I'll go with a gown and with a mask and with a. So you're wondering, does that create a barrier for the care you're providing? Because it's very different. You are sitting together. I'm talking to you like I talk to any of the patients, and we are talking very much in a very open environment. With COVID, it's created a lot of barriers. You got to come in, they take your temperature. You can't come in unless they take your temperature. You got to wear a mask or you got to wear a shield. And then you wear all your paraphernalia, your gown and your gloves. And you go see a patient, and the first thing is that you scare them. You go like, who are you? You're a man from Mars. And secondly is, what do you want? So you kind of explain that. But I think what happens is very important. It's what I call the heart of hospice. If you have the heart of hospice and you approach a patient with that type of compassionate thinking and compassionate mindset, then they're gonna accept you, and whether it's karma, whether it's energy, whatever you want to call it. But that's the commitment that you make, the hospice heart, the kindness and the lovingness that you provide the patient and care, and then you're not there just to listen to their problems, of their list of diseases, but you're also to listen to who were you born. Who is your family? What did you do in your life? So you want to know not only the disease process, but the person themselves. And I think that's very important. That's been my key for success for getting to know patients and providing care.
Well, and that's how even with what I learned at Family Hospice years ago is you're a guest, and I think you said it, you are a guest in their home, and adapt to what they're doing. And you may act totally different at a different type of home. Some but just meet them where they are.
Correct.
I think that's the the key thing. And you're right. It's so important just to try to walk in their shoes.
I think it's when I was in private practice and I did a lot of acute care, ICU and CCU work, but I did see patients in my office. And so the patient in your office, the patient in the hospital is very different than the patient at home. okay? Because now you're in my turf, doctor, okay? So let me tell you what I'm going on and what's really happening to me. And my husband did this, or I did this, or I took my neighbor's medication. So all the things that they don't usually tell you when you're in their office, they tell you. So it really helps that a great transparency to occur and a great connection. The thing that's always really has brought me to this work is that once you talk to a patient and their family, there's a tremendous amount of intimacy that's created within almost milliseconds. And I'm still awed by that when your family opens up and they tell you what's going on and how they feel, and then you can really get to the crux of what the matter is. If it's mental, if it's social, it's spiritual, if it's the physical type of things, we can address all those major domains.
So talk to me. We've got a family. I'm just my family friend from Louisiana. Their doctor said, keep her comfortable or do a feeding tube. So the next step, what should a family expect when they are given just said, you know what, I think it's time to speak with someone from hospice? Tell me from your perspective, how should this flow?
Well, first of all, the word hospice, you tell somebody that you're going to hospice, or I tell my friends I'm a hospice doctor, and you go like, oh, that's really nice, and they walk away. So and many times in my lifetime when I'm flying somewhere, giving a talk or going to a conference, and I sit next to someone, I say, well, what kind of work do you do? I'm a physician. What kind of doctor are you? I'm an internal medicine doctor and specialize in certain areas of hospice and palliative medicine. Well, what is that? Hospice is taking care of a dying person. So they'll either put their pods back in their ears and we're talking, or they're going to have a 2-hour wonderful conversation about what is hospice, what is end-of-life care. To answer your question, I think one of the things that we have to know is to kind of not take away hope from patients. To tell them that they still have that very important ethical principle of autonomy, but we're there to do beneficence and non-maleficence. So we're not there to do harm. We're there to do the best we can. But it's hard to kind of realize that all of a sudden you have no hope for cure. There's nothing else that can be done for them. One of the things that I think is very important as we review their medical record is, you tell the family everything that needed to be done, you've done already. You've done a great job of taking care of your mom and dad.
That's
or you've
good.
had an acute illness. So now that changes the whole gamut of what type of care is available to them. But we're here really to provide you with the care that you need at this time, and we're going to provide you with an interdisciplinary team that actually will provide that care. So it's the nurse, the social worker, the chaplain, our volunteers, the doctor, and then all the people in the background, ancillary personnel, people we contract with, whether it's physical therapy or a dietitian, to address all of those needs. And it's all paid by either an insurance program or by Medicare, which is one of the best Medicare programs we have as the end-of-life hospice care, Medicare Hospice Part B.
So tell me, and these I get questions all the time, because my heart is hospice. Even though I'm private duty, I've always loved being a hospice nurse. I cherish those years that I worked with you years ago. A lot of people say, okay, and I've seen it just doing private duty. I'll have a family member call their hospice, not Centric, you guys are fantastic, but call their hospice and say, my mom's having pain. It's Friday at 6 o'clock. And they say, okay, go into the fridge, get out that comfort pack, give mom some morphine, and call us tomorrow and let us know how she's doing. I know that is not what Medicare had in mind.
No.
Yeah.
It's actually, and I have to be, you may or may not know this, but the emergency kits were created by Family Hospice. I'm an old pharmacist. We started that whole process talking with pharmacists about, because you can think about it, going like, okay, so we're going to give morphine and lorazepam and Phenergan and Tylenol suppositories and other medications, 6 medications, scopolamine to reduce secretion, 6 medications, and we're going to tell them, put it in your refrigerator and we'll tell you when to use them. That doesn't happen anywhere in medicine, okay? So you kind of have the anticipation of the symptoms the patient will have. And sure enough, they will need the medication. The other thing is very amazing when you created, whether it was emergency kit, symptom management kit, or comfort kit, was the fact that we're allowing the family to administer some very potent medication. But the whole thing is we go in there and we say, this is how you do it. This is a dropper, this is morphine, this is how much you give, and this is how we titrate it. There's a lot of information behind that, the pharmacology of opiates and how you titrate things and how you get the medications to steady state and all that other thing is very important. But we go in and teach the family how to do this. Just kind of think about this, okay? You got a kit, and when you really need it, you take it out and you're going to use it. And the thing that's so amazing is that usually after they give a dose or two, and all of a sudden if they're having respiratory distress or severe pain, crescendo pain, then all of a sudden they feel better, and all of a sudden they're eating and they're telling stories and going like, he was dying an hour ago and now he's doing well. So it just has to do with the symptom management.
Well, and what I explain too is that morphine, so it's the best medicine, and I try to explain when you're in so much pain or so much anxiety, it's like you're running a race and you can't stop. And you get that medicine and it just allows you to relax. You can breathe easier. You can feel better. And sometimes you do go to sleep for a little bit, but it does give you such a better quality of life. But so in layman's terms, when that comfort pack comes in, it really is the team that should be teaching.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay.
And not something that the family should just.
No, it's not something you get from Amazon. You drop it off and you're.
I know.
And good
I
luck.
know.
I hope it works. So no.
And we've
So it's
talked
very
about
different.
before, even if you get to that point with the comfort kit and you're not comfortable, the hospice should come out. If you
Most
call and
definitely.
say it's 6:00 on Friday, there's somebody on call, and say we're just not comfortable. Dad's not where we feel. We're not comfortable with this. Then the hospice nurse comes out. That's an easy fix right now, because sometimes it is that last part where you're a little more nervous than usual. Let us come out and take care of it and handle that for you and educate a little more. That's not a problem. So your nurses should be coming out if you are worried about stuff.
And one thing we've talked about, if you're not comfortable, I feel, my company, I'm as good as my worst employee. And so if there is somebody that's not doing their job or they're not spending the time you need, speak up. Sometimes people have unrealistic goals. Sometimes people want a nurse there 7 days a week. That's not possible. And that's where you bring in private duty
Absolutely.
and get additional support. But realistically, the hospice benefit, where it's a great support service, walks you through. And anyway, that's good to know on the comfort pack. Okay, how about what with the pandemic, hospice? We're in a pandemic. What should a family expect that's different than a normal hospice pre-COVID?
Pre-COVID.
Yeah,
Okay.
how is that different? What does that picture look like?
It's it changed because in certain settings you can't even see the patient. So you walk into the telemedicine or telecommunications era of medicine, where you're actually doing either a Zoom meeting with the patient or the family, or you're doing a healthcare type of phone call with them on FaceTime, or you're doing something totally different, or you're making rounds actually, or you're telling the nurse who's on the on another line, and as a three-part communication to talk to the patient about walking them through what they need to do. There's nothing like hands-on, okay? And I still make visits in this COVID time as well. I have the privilege of going to not only hospitals but also to nursing homes and assisted livings because I'm a doctor, so I can and many times what's kind of interesting, I've had many patients kind of like, how many times can you see my mom a week? Can you go 3 times a week to see her just to let me know how she's doing, take a picture?
I know.
So, but sometimes I just make it an intentional visit. And do a picture, and I have some pictures with me, or a little video, and send it to the family, because then they have that connection. COVID has taken that away from it. Now there are changes. Governor Abbott has created some changes. They're actually starting today.
And what are those changes?
Those changes will allow family to come and visit in facilities. However, the facilities don't have instructions of how to accept them, okay? And the facility has to apply to be able to do it. The family has to apply to be able to come. They have to create plexiglass and outdoor. So it's not going to be like, oh, I'll go see my mom today. No, it's not going to be that way. So there'll be facilities. They'll be slowly ramping up to be able to provide that service. But it's a good thing. They're going to be able to be visited with a patient and family. Because one of the things during the COVID crisis is the mental health part. There's something about the loneliness of the disease that causes a rapid deterioration and a rapid decline in patients and families. We see the patients with neurodegenerative disorders, whether it's dementia of Lewy bodies, Alzheimer's disease, or vascular dementias. We see that rapid decline, just the fact of being isolated, about being lonely, not having your family close by, being able to just wave to them. That in itself has taken a tremendous toll to many of our patients in this COVID period, and then not having the support system or not being able to provide the support system under hospice and certain facilities has been really a challenge for everyone that provides hospice, home care, private care, because we're not able to come in to certain facilities. But in a home environment, we can all be there just as long as we're taking the appropriate protection at all times.
Well, we had a patient that was discharged from one of the big hospitals here, wonderful care, and he got home. I met him there with the family, and he asked his wife and daughter, he said, "Will you come just touch my hands? I need touch. I haven't had touch for 5 weeks." He'd been in the hospital 5 weeks. And I mean, he was just crying, just hold me, touch me. And so that's a pandemic in itself,
Correct.
just the loneliness aspect. And that's why I love my pajamas for seniors that we do. Is
Oh, yes.
even
Yeah,
though
those are
people
legendary.
can't be, yeah, but they can give a gift and
All
they
right.
can do something and maybe even write a little note. You were special. We love you. We're rooting for you. We're thinking about you. We're praying for you.
Just to add one point, that we see families more now, because when was the last time you wrote a letter to somebody you love? With the current communications we have, we get very spoiled. But people are sitting down, sending a card. So when I go visit them and I see a whole line of cards from family members or a note that says, "Oh, I want to show you what my daughter said," and they will read it out.
I
Oh,
know.
that's touching. So it's kind of like the old days when you used to send letters, and I don't think anybody sends love letters anymore, but I did at one time. And, so Sylvia pulls them out. You remember what you said here, So we're coming back to that. We're writing, we're talking, we're doing things a little bit differently.
Well, and I've always done that. I've always done the handwritten thank you note. I think it's so special, and it means so much, and it takes a little more time than the email.
Sure.
But I'm old-fashioned that way too. I
But
just love
that creates
thing.
a very unique connection too, such as the touch, therapeutic touch.
And they can read them over and over and over again.
Oh, yes, yeah. I sat with a particular patient, and she read it to me 3 times. And she said, "What do you think, doctor?" And I said, "I liked it all 3 times." It was great.
Oh, that's so sweet. So in all your, as a medical director for years of experience, what is the one thing you want every family member to know before they start hospice?
Well, I want them to know that it's not, we're not going to come in with morphine and morphinize them and cause
I know.
euthanasia or physicians aid in dying. But we're there to provide a very unique type of care. And I think that hospice is a gift to humanity. It's the care that provided very uniquely by a group of people. I mean, you know that personally, and so does Jeanna, that you go and you have the privilege of standing on sacred ground with the patient. And at times, in a time in their disease trajectory, especially if they have a seriously ill and impending death, it's a time in which they know that you know, and you know that they know that this be the last time that you'll see them alive, because when you come back next week, they may not be there. So to tell the families that we're there to help them. We're not about taking hope away, but managing their symptoms. And if you manage their symptoms appropriately, they may live more than 1 day. Or like physicians say, well, you got a week or 2 months or 2 months. They may live a little bit longer where you do the appropriate symptom management. So and we've had studies that show that hospice, people come in on hospice, will add anywhere from 15 to 45 days to their life, just because of really 3 major things. One is that you're getting the care that you need at that time, okay? You're getting the medications for symptom management. We're not going to cure your disease, but we're going to manage the disease and ameliorate the symptoms. And thirdly is that very unique interdisciplinary approach of approaching, if you call it suffering, you approach from a physical, psychological, social, and spiritual aspect. So you have a whole team working on trying to alleviate those type of concerns the patient may have at this particular time in their life. Because it is a very pivotal time. It's actually a time in which I call it stoichiometric, where you're making a big transition in your life. And none of us make transitions easy, okay? So changing lifestyles from where you were before, and this happened to me with thousands of patients, where they were very active and then an acute illness, and then and most typically with people that, all of a sudden they're fine, and all of a sudden they turn yellow, and all of a sudden they go to the emergency room, they have pancreatic cancer at stage 4, and you have 4 months or 2 months to live. You're going like, well, wait a minute, I was playing tennis last month. What are you telling me? So this is a tremendous transition. So getting things to slow up and to tell them where they are, and to have a tremendous veracity of honesty of telling them, not to play games with them, but to tell them the truth, but to also in a way that they understand and explain the disease process to them. It's going to happen. I had the privilege of doing pediatric hospice and palliative care for 10 years. And so to me, children's taught me a lot. Because you can't lie to children, and you shouldn't lie to adults either, okay? So you have the veracity, the truth-telling is important, so they know, and then the openness and transparency. You can ask me any questions, okay, about your disease. You can ask me any questions about your medical care, and we will try to answer them the best we can based on the information we have. So that we're there to support you, we're there to help you, and we're there to embellish your life for as long as we can.
Wow. Well, I remember at Family Hospice, I was the nurse for a 17-year-old. You were the medical director. And I just remember thinking, oh, this is so unfair. This is so unfair. And we were with her. She wound up dying at Children's. And I think you came up. I was there. But it was real interesting. About 15 years later, I was staying at a hotel in downtown Dallas. And it was for some conference. And I wound up spending the night. And her mother was working at the hotel. I had not seen her, and anyway, I introduced myself. I said, I know you may not remember me, and I said, I'm Joe. And she goes, oh, I do remember you. And she was so grateful for such a difficult time to have that support, from our team. And, that was one thing I loved about Family Hospice. We held their hand through the very end, and I know that's how Centric, that's your belief, and I love that, and that's the way hospice should be.
Yeah, we're following the same blueprint. Okay, so we cover most of the Dallas area, and then Greenville, and also in Oklahoma. But our focus and our opening office in Plano means that it gives us a chance to really use all those skills, all that knowledge, and bring in a great team. And I'm always teaching, so I'm always teaching my team why things work. When somebody says, well, you give morphine to kill the patient, go, no, morphine is an immune receptor drug, and it's a bad drug to manage pain. So that's your answer when somebody tells you you're coming with morphine and you're morphinizing your patient. So you approach it not only from a didactic academic perspective, from a practical perspective, and then from a clinical application perspective. This is what we're going to do to make your mom more comfortable. Now, the caveat to all of this, and I always mention this because this happened to me last week. We had a patient, his son was a doctor, and he was in Tennessee, and he was asking me questions. And so why are they started morphine? Why are they giving him medications? He got lorazepam, and going like, hey, well, he's never taken, that's correct, he's never taken this medication, but this is what he needs at this time in his disease trajectory. So we were able to manage the symptoms. But then at the end I said, no, listen, if we're able to manage your dad's symptoms well, and get him comfortable for the first time, because he told us that, but first time he slept all night for almost a year.
Aww.
Now, he may pass away. And going like, and he was good until I told him, if we get him very comfortable, he may just go ahead and find peace and pass away. Going like, I liked everything except that last part, Dr. Peralta. But that does happen. So we have to prepare the families for, you're expecting to manage symptoms, but then when they really get comfortable, they may just pass peacefully at night, which is what all of us wish would happen to us, peacefully at night. And so they're aware that could happen, okay? And if they need care, continuous care, 24, then we have a part of the hospice benefit, this continuous care, to be with them, to address those difficult symptoms, to finally get them comfortable. Not to cause death, but to get them comfortable so they can achieve that final chapter in their life.
And so, most, what I say is it may be they just may let go. They may be so comfortable they let go. But in all the years of home care and hospice, I haven't seen people just, I'm going to take a nap and they go pass. It's not that common.
No.
There's usually a process,
Right.
and that's where Dr. Peralta and your team, you help them along the way. And I love being able to teach too. I learned that from you, and it is a wonderful service. We will all get there.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
all are dealing
Service
with a
that
loved
all of
one,
us
a
will be able to
family
use.
member. That's
Uh-huh.
right. And so it's better to have that knowledge and be ready. This has been so awesome. This has probably been my favorite show
Okay.
ever.
Thank you.
And I want to have you back. And Jeanna, tell us, how can we get in touch if somebody is trying to decide what they're going to do for their loved one? How can we get in touch with you guys?
You can call me. I answer my phone all the time. 469-400-5321. I can get you in contact. And if you are not sure where you are in the process, Dr. Peralta is great about, like I said, coming out to see. If they're in a nursing home, let us know. Dr. Peralta goes to nursing homes, goes to hospitals, so we can assess where they are at that point. So, and Centric Home Health and Hospice, and like I said, just give us a call, and we are excited, and we appreciate it. People letting us take care of their family members.
Well, just one last thing that I do. I always do something. I call this neuroplasticity, which is keeping your mind sharp. But over the years, I finally put together these signs and symptoms of impending death. And so there's 36 of them. And when I was part of the group that started the first 44 fellowships in Peralta medicine in the United States here in Fort Worth with the University of North Texas Health Science Center in Fort Worth. And so when fellows came to me, and I've taught fellows all my life, both medical students, residents, and fellows, but he said, "What are these signs and symptoms?" And I'm like, "Well, what makes you an expert at the end of the day?" And I think something that you saw that I saw, a difficult time in their breathing. We called it the rattle, but its correct name is pharyngotracheobronchial sonorous bronchi. And then also the fact of loss of radial pulses. I mean, that in itself tells you that within the next 24, 48 hours. So there's a lot of science now, too, really evidence-based information and science behind hospice and palliative care now, of the things we used to do, but now we know why they happen and how we can inform the families how close the patient may be to their
Is there a
disease.
way to get to that information?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Once again, you can contact Jeanna under Centric, and she'll require. And then if you'd like, you can email her or email me. My email is very simple. It's Alexander Peralta, MD, at sbcglobal.net. So if you are interested, and the people are interested, and they're going, "So what did you do? You just watched 9 people?" They're like, "Well, no. There's a science." And when you've had the privilege of being at the bedside, very, very special bedside for over 6,000 patients, you learn something. Okay. And that's one of the things I think is very important in this work, is continuing to learn and to be awed by this wonderful process at the end of life.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jeanna.
So educational.
Appreciate I know.
I can just
it's
listen
great.
to him
It's
all day.
Me too. Have a great day. Just call Centric, call Acappella Caring People Company if we can help you with any private duty needs. And we just have a blessed day. Thank you so much.
Yeah, bless you. Kindness and love. Thank you, man.